Here we go. I'm Pat.
Jeffrey.
We're back
We are back.
for my time in the desert,
Yeah.
which was shockingly cold. So,
Well, that's been the case with many places around the country that they're typically having semi-arid to arid,
and in Phoenix, everything was green. It was weird. Yeah,
Was it nice in comparison to being like 106 degrees in the shade?
definitely. Yeah, it was way nicer than that. So usually when I go down there this time of year, it's like mid 80s.
Oh,
So we go to the
okay.
pool for like a day or two. It was way too
Wasn't
fucking
gonna
cold for
happen,
that.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. So, because some of the pools down there are heated. So,
Right.
they're heated by God.
It's got a job to do. Don't
He
take
was
it
busy
from him.
this
Yeah,
week.
I guess. I guess.
Uh,
Yeah, so with the cold Phoenix, how was it?
it was fine. I was only down there for 4 days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like really quick. I blew up my wife's laptop. Yeah.
The old one?
No, this was actually when it's only like 3 years old. It was a
Oh.
Hewlett Packard, like a Pavilion one.
Oh.
So I downloaded Steam, and then I downloaded one game, and I murdered it in one night.
All right.
It was a 12-year-old game, man. So, yeah.
What are you trying to play?
I don't know. Well, it was Arma 3, which is this, like,
I know that.
yeah. It's
I haven't
very
played it,
popular
so-
amongst, like, right wing, like, I want to.
Deus Vult, yeah.
It is very
Yeah.
fault. So, but I got hooked on it like 2 weeks ago. And so I was like, oh, fuck. My wife's laptop will be able to run this. And fucking sure as shit, like, after one night of it, it just melted down.
That's
So,
crazy.
Yeah, no, I actually, like, when I was down there, I found a PC repair service that came out to the house.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was like, what the fuck did I do? So, and he cracked open her laptop, and he was like, "Oh, your graphics card is fried."
Oh, no
I
shit.
was like, on a 12-year-old fucking game? What the fuck?
What did he have to say about that?
Well,
is that
okay,
thing-
all right. So this is actually a PSA announcement here.
Okay.
All right. Don't leave your laptop plugged in.
Wait.
Like, don't leave the power cord on the battery perpetually. So, because it will absolutely melt your battery. And then if it gets in that overheat mode, it'll blow your graphics card. So, yeah. And he actually pulled out her battery,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like wavy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's supposed to be like straight
Yeah.
and stuff, but it was all like fucking melted.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I asked her, I was like, well, you know, do you ever unplug this? She's like, no, I've left it plugged in for the last 2 years. So, and yeah, apparently that's a thing. I don't know that much about laptops, so
Well, the thing that's got me on that is like, and I'm not disagreeing with this, or by any means. I'm just like, so are you supposed to let the battery just kind of charge down on a regular basis?
well, he said that you got to set it in your Windows settings where it never charges over 80%. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, I see.
and I had
Yeah,
heard
all
that
right, all right.
before. So, but if you let it charge up, and then it's just like basically a power transfer brick,
Yeah.
in there,
Right.
yeah, eventually that degrades the battery. I don't know. So,
Well, I mean, I'll put it to you this way, right? So, this is something that we all do because, frankly, I mean, there is zero difference between the battery that's in that laptop and what's in your phone, right?
sure, yeah.
It's the exact same technology, the same thing, right? Would you feel comfortable leaving your phone plugged in 24 hours a day?
Right, yeah, no. Yeah. No.
Because that's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
The only difference is we're guaranteed, like, dude, I feel like a lot of times I never actually get this thing up to 100%. I feel like this thing,
No, mine neither. Yeah.
I feel like my phone has been running like sort of a continuous, like really slow, but it's kind of like when Forrest Gump is running from each side to America, right?
He's got a fucking bunch
It's
of
just
fucking ragged.
that's kind of
Hippies following him. Yeah,
yeah, because I'm like my phone is never really going fast, but at the same time, it's like um, I don't I don't let it sit there and charge for like hours. I sit there and let it fill up for a little bit, take it, and then go.
until I feel good leaving the house with it.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Because
No, I did that with mine this morning.
yeah,
I was like, yeah, I can make it through the rest of the day with 56%.
yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you rethink things. You're like, what am I gonna do?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much bitcoins am I going to trade on this today?
That's really the question. So I mean, that does make sense. I will keep that in mind. No, that's I definitely appreciate that.
So I wouldn't have believed him until he actually pulled the battery. So
Well, I've killed a phone battery.
yeah, it's not the same as a laptop. So a laptop battery is like the size of a ruler. So
Yeah,
it's bigger.
it's,
And it
it's
had these
always,
waves
yeah.
in it,
Yeah.
and he was like, well, that's from you leaving it on the charger and just using this as a desktop. That's what docking stations are for. And I was like,
Suck.
yeah, I know. They fucking terribly suck. But I mean, yeah, it was just one of those things. And he was like, well, yeah, it makes sense that your laptop overheated if you use the graphics card for the first time in 3 years.
I guess that's another question. Was that onboard graphics? Was it a
It was totally on
integrated?
board. Yeah, it was totally on board. Yeah. So, and it like he was impressed because when he pulled off the case and everything, it actually had dual fans in it. And one of
Oh,
them was spinning and then it would stop. And then it would spin a little bit and it would stop. And so the BIOS was completely fucked on the entire thing. It would not actually boot. So, and I'm like literally playing a 12-year-old game on this motherfucker. So, and I'm like, it's getting a little hot. Maybe I should turn it down, and turn it off for a little bit. So I turn it off for half an hour and then come back and it's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not hot to the touch,
right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
But then, like, the first time I fired it up, it just completely fucking shut down. Black screen, everything. No boot screen, nothing. So.
And this guy actually fixed this thing, right?
Oh, no, he said it was fucked.
Oh, all right. So are you going laptop shopping now?
Oh no, we already bought one. We went over to Costco because he was like, "Well, it's going to cost about $300 to fix this," and we went over to Costco and found a brand spanking new one for $650. So I was like, "Fine, fuck it, we're good."
Right.
So apparently now we own a Dell. So
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So the one thing that he did actually recommend was actually getting an AMD chip. So he said AMD chips are way better in laptops than the Intel ones. So.
I think I'd agree with that.
Okay.
I have both.
Do you?
Well, not in the laptops. I have different AMDs. I have different Intels and different computers I have. So
you said the architecture on the AMD was better for laptops, and Intel would catch up within a year or two. So
I think
yeah, I'm curious
about
this.
About why. I'm trying to remember because there was. Okay, so the best way I can put this is all right. So let's pretend that you have two different, like architectures. They're not that different, but they are different.
Sure.
Right. And so you have something where for the past few years, it's sort of modular so that if you add more, to this, right, it gets more powerful. It gets a little bit more power hungry, right? But you just add to it and basically you take your existing thing, but more, right? And AMD has their own sort of thing, and what they had done not too long ago was they had changed the architecture, right?
Is that the Ryzen chip?
That's the old one, yeah. But this is like risen like 5, 6, 7, blah 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 blah.
Well, right? That's what he told us to get.
Yeah.
So yeah. And my brother concurred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Not gonna argue that. But so Intel, what they've done, like their last thing, this was the crossroads where people like, so which way are you gonna go? Are you going to basically take your same basic chipset, right, and just add more, right, and brute force it by sheer numbers, or are you going to change the architecture of it? And they brute forced it one more year,
Intel did.
Intel did.
Got it.
Right? So you do get, horsepower out of that, but it's a less efficient, less, more power hungry, way to design
Right,
that
yeah.
there instead of, because they were just holding us like it's not ready. So we are going to release the new.
So you didn't give me bad advice.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, and that's like, yeah, that's what my brother said. And then, like, when I built my PC 2.5 years ago, Nate told me the exact same thing. He was like, "No, this is scalable. So, and this is going to go further than that one is. So, I want you to get a Ryzen chip."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, no," and it just still murders things out. So,
well, it is.
We're getting there though, man, because I still got a what is it, the 2070?
Yeah.
Yeah. My computer, I'm gonna need to upgrade that soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Diablo 4 came out.
Yeah, you saw that. Huh?
Yeah, I did
got
see
you
that.
interested?
Yeah. I'm gonna fucking play the shit out of that. It comes out in June, man.
I'll play that with you.
All right.
I mean, I've heard people like complaining about it, but when I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know. This seems fun to me, right?
It seemed very fun.
Like it. If there were people talking about like design decisions and blah blah blah, it's like, man, do you have any idea how so far removed from this I am? Like,
yeah,
any venture into this is going to feel like totally fresh for me. And given that
I haven't played it since Diablo 2. I never played 3.
I didn't either.
Yeah, okay.
We talked about it, we just never did it.
We just didn't do it.
It just didn't happen.
Yeah. In fact, we were going to play the remix of 2, and we didn't do it.
We didn't do it.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like, well, I don't know how much I really want time I want to spend in the Arcane Sanctuary. And or the fucking, the level where they fucking shoot, what is those guys with the
little pygmy thing?
The pygmy things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't want to do that.
Well, I know for like the second one, I remember we kept talking about it, and then every time we talked about it, we check and see when it was going to release, and it kept saying not yet, not yet, not yet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then by the time it came out, it had been out for like 6 months, and we just totally forgot about it. It was like I was doing other things.
Moved on to other shit.
It's like,
well, yeah,
man, I'm sorry. It's like if you're gonna rope me in with the remaster of an old game, you really got to strike when my when my nostalgia.
You got to thread that needle. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
You do, because it's not a brand new game. You're like, hey, do you want to play Diablo 2 again? Like
Diablo.
I might. What's the price on it? How would you feel about $15? And you walk away. It's like, man, no, it's cool. I'm just gonna look on another lot. I think I can get a better price elsewhere. All right, I'll do it.
Absolutely.
For 10.
Yeah, I'll do it for 10.
Like 10's the best price you can do. 10's the lowest I can go. You're like,
it's like I'll be back next week.
but that's the thing, is he gets you to shake on 10, right?
Right.
And you say, all right, take me to it. He's like, no, it's not gonna be out for a while. Like,
well, give me my fucking $10 back. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
What do you mean a while?
When? Yeah. So it was like, I'm sorry, Cyberpunk has an update. Fuck you. Yeah. Yeah.
You're playing Arma.
I was playing Arma.
I was playing Command and Conquer Red Alert, so I don't.
Dude, I gotta tell you, man, there's this thing in Arma. So there was this guy on YouTube who got me kind of hooked on it.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I was watching a show. I was like, all right, this is interesting. Let me go check this out. And on Steam Store, it was like $7 fucking.
Got it.
And I was like,
got it.
All right, let me do that.
What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was like I get robbed out of $7. So I was like, that happens to me at the gas station every fucking week, whatever. And
that's a Big Mac and fries. I mean, that's
it's not even that, man. It's just the fries. In Joe Biden's universe, but whatever. So, but anyway, yeah. But anyway, it's got this mod that I've been playing, and I got hooked on it down in Arizona.
What's the mod?
It's called Antistasi, and so you play as a gorilla. All right, and you go into this world, which is completely like all the ballistics are all modeled and shit like that.
Okay.
Okay, but you're a dude with a fucking pistol, and you have to take over the world. So it's amazing.
Wait.
So
Right.
yeah, no. So there's like all these like dude. I haven't got my mind fully around it because I've only been playing it for
Okay.
like 5 days. Okay, but you're basically like a revolutionary.
Okay.
All right, and
So this is where the Stasi part comes in.
this is the Stasi
Okay.
part.
All right.
And so you go in there, you shoot some cops, you get some better gear. All right,
Okay.
you take it back to your fucking base, and you rig up a couple guys, and then you go shoot more cops. And then if you shoot too many cops, and then these are not like, like NYPD cops.
Right.
They're like, fucking, like,
Mayberry.
sure. You
wax toad.
there's just guys walking around,
All right, right.
like enforcing, like, hey, don't think about that. Don't put your money over there. Kind of guys, So you wax a few of those guys, and eventually they're like, oh shit. So there's a revolution going on. I'm using dick quotes here. For those of you who are not on a TV feed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. And you go in there and they say, okay, this town is getting a little bit fucking uppity. All right. And so they send in military guys, and you go wax those guys to get better gear.
Okay.
So, yeah, no. And you just eventually take over the fucking map. So, doing this because you got all these AI dudes who are fucking retards.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can train them up so they're less retarded. So and it was $7, and it like completely consumed my weekend down in Phoenix. That was like the thing. I was like, I blew up your laptop last night, but we gotta go get a new one tomorrow because I gotta continue the revolution.
It's right. It's not, honey. It's not that I blew up the laptop. It's like I need to get back to this.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I gotta liberate this island.
Right.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's kind of like I don't know, the way that you're describing it is almost like managing your 5-star meter in Grand Theft Auto. Like,
it's very similar. Well, you
go too crazy and they're going to kill you.
You got to jack cars in this one because you're gonna load them up with like fucking terrorists in the back, and then go roll up on this police station and murder all the police. So this town will be like, oh, actually, these guys are legit. I don't know. I haven't really fully figured it out, man. It was just one of those things where it popped in on my YouTube. Oh, speaking of fucking YouTube feeds.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So that's what got me started on this game.
Okay.
Okay. But over the course of the 4 days when I was in Phoenix, YouTube blew the fuck up. All right. With AI.
Oh.
Have you seen any of these Donald Trump versus Joe Biden Minecraft feeds?
Oh, yeah. Well, not the feeds, just like clips.
They are so goddamn funny. I mean, I was like, my wife had to come in and is like, what the fuck is so funny? So, because they're all like AI generated, all the scripts and everything like that. Holy shit, man. I couldn't breathe over some of these because they're just taking like, transcripts off YouTube clips here and there. People playing Bed Wars on Minecraft or Modern Warfare.
Sure, yeah.
And stuff like that. And then putting Donald Trump and fucking Joe Biden's voices on. So
it's weird. I
got sucked into like a 6-hour feed of this, just laughing my ass off. So and then like yesterday I noticed when I came home and I was looking at all my YouTube feeds, they're all been scrubbed. So
what?
Well, I don't know. So maybe it's just like they're all AI generated or something like that, but they stopped showing up on all my shorts.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, and I mean like literally I went through like 4 hours of just clicking on the next ones.
Yeah.
And they're 30 seconds, 2 minutes tops. Well, shorts are shorter than that, but
yeah,
they would lead you over to the channel kind of thing.
Okay, because then it's just short things that I've seen. Yeah,
shit, I was laughing my ass off on these. So man, they're so well done. So I mean, it's like I know it's all AI generated.
Yeah.
Okay, but calling Donald Trump fat orange fuck, Joe Biden, you absolute fucking specimen of dementia. It was so goddamn funny. So, and what they do is they take like YouTube videos that are really popular,
Yeah.
okay, of like Minecraft or Modern
Yeah.
Warfare or stuff like that, and just transpose the voices on them. Oh my god, man, I could not stop watching it.
This was your thing, huh?
It was, dude, it was like literally getting belly laughs out of me.
That's a rough thing too, because if you're doing that, then people come over and they're like, "What are you laughing at?" And
Don't worry about it.
you gotta show them. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can't do it. So, but yeah, still at the same point in time, it was like 3 days there where that was my entire YouTube feed. So, and now it's gone.
I
So,
didn't get into it that much, man.
I guess my problem was I kept clicking on them. So,
Well, yeah,
but yeah, it was amazing. I literally watched one channel go from maybe 1,000 subscribers to 1 million in 2.5 days.
Christ.
It was crazy. So
They all just kind of caught the fever at one time,
apparently,
huh?
yeah, apparently. But oh my god, they're fucking funny.
Well, I mean,
Defend your fucking bed. I'm gonna bridge over to you. It was I mean, it had just that like right touch of I knew what they were talking about,
yeah,
but it was
yeah.
all in their voices. And then there were Kennedy voices, there were Nixon voices. You and I used to fucking do that. Yeah.
It was an old job, man.
I know, man.
That was when we used to do nighttime radio.
Nighttime radio, yeah.
No, I gotcha. No, I mean, like, I got into some of those, but it wasn't those ones. A lot of those were where people were using AI to like overdub things. With surprisingly good lip flap. You know
What?
Well, like the one where like Captain Picard was racist, and
Oh, I haven't seen that.
don't worry about it.
Oh shit, I gotta look at it now, man.
It's yeah, I can't even remember really the thesis of what he was getting at, but he insisted that they get Geordie LaForge off the bridge of the ship. And he wasn't nice about it either.
Yeah. What the fuck off my ship? Yeah.
Yeah, stupid things like that. But yeah, it's the stuff I saw on that was only like a minute and a half, and like a lot of that was also like they would plaster over. They would use that, and they would plaster over like what AOC was saying, and
oh yeah,
like
I
that,
saw
yeah.
a ton of Hillary Clinton ones
Yeah.
where like Donald Trump and Joe Biden are both kicking her off her server.
What? Okay, I wasn't watching the server ones. I was watching the ones where they're actually like sort of manipulating the video.
Oh no, these are ones that are they're.
I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah,
Those aren't the
okay,
ones that I
yeah.
was watching. You like
God
it because
damn it, they were funny, man.
you like it because it's esoteric enough to actually like pertain to the game and see how these personalities would do when they were actually playing the stupid game itself.
Well, they always
knowing
have
the game.
Obama on there, and he's just gonna drone somebody. So it's fucking great, man.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
but that's part of it. Like, you remember during like the 80s, 90s, 2000s, whatever, maybe even like a few years ago, right? You'd watch a show, right? And I don't know why they would do this. I don't know why for the longest time, like I think even Breaking Bad and some other shows would do this. No, actually they weren't as bad. They did some things, but for the longest time, you could tell that the writer and the director, like they would ask them, like the writer would put in something like so and so is playing a video game, right? And you could tell that the director was just such a fucking like an auteur. There's like, oh, play those. I don't know. Let's go find me some stock things. And what they do is the director would tell the kid or the adult, like, so you're playing a game in the scene, right? And again, this
yeah, and you're just mashing buttons.
well,
Yeah.
not just mashing buttons. They were like, no, play harder. So the kid, obviously this is radio, not TV. They'd be like shaking back and forth.
and shooting the fucking controller at the screen. Yeah, no,
And-
I've seen that many times.
And what would happen is the fucking gaffer would, this is like 2014, and they'd go like to the Atari box of sounds, and you'd hear like, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of those like instant disconnects for me in movies or shows
Me
where
too.
like You assholes! You could have done like a second of research. But when you do something like this, and the presidents are, they know the lingo, they know the strategy of the game, they know the right.
I
That's
love
different.
it, man. It's so
That's
funny.
different, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. So yeah, like hearing Donald Trump call Joe Biden an absolute fucking specimen.
It would be like, seriously, it would be like if you came home one day, right, and just this is like the hypothetical dream world, and your dad was sitting there on the computer, and you saw him, and he was playing something modern, right?
Sure.
But he had the headset on, right? And your dad was crushing somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you can hear this little kid's voice on the other end, but you can't hear what he's saying. But your dad is just giving him the hardest time, like your dad is like, learn today, boy, right?
Right.
Just
Yeah, exactly. Get good.
You would lose your shit.
I
You
would totally lose my shit. And that's what made these videos so fucking great, because they're using all the game lingo, because they just feed it in the machine. Yeah. And so it comes out like, like not even when you and I were playing that, you would hear this like extremely racist like bullshit come through the headphones.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's why we turned it off.
On the best days, yeah.
On the best days, yeah. But it's still at the same point in time, I mean, watching these guys do this, and I've seen enough playthrough videos over the last like 5 years, pick up on what they're talking about. But to actually hear that in Joe Biden's voice, where Donald Trump get fucked, on there. It had me going for like almost an entire afternoon, man. I just could not stop laughing.
Does it?
So, I mean, you would come across every now and then where someone had not scripted it very well.
Right.
So you could tell it was fake. But then there were other ones where it was like, oh no, this is definitely gameplay, like scripture here.
Right.
And they just put his voice on that script.
Yeah.
And they nailed it. So absolutely fucking nailed it,
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this. I know you were laughing, but did it creep you out a little bit in terms of how good, how fast?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So, like I said, there were some channels that were better at it than others. The ones that were better at it, you could tell they put like enough scripting in it where there were like impactful pauses and stuff like that actually make a difference, or even like tailoring the language to, one character or the other, as opposed to just like feeding a script into it. And so, yeah, no, it was. I could tell that there were some folks who were taking it like not necessarily fairly seriously, but knew how to make it feel a little bit more real. Right. So, and they were fantastic. So, and they just, oh man, I pissed myself. I was laughing so hard. So on some of those things, because it was just fat orange fuck you, motherfucker. I was like, Joe, you absolute fucking unit of dementia. So it was great. And then Obama would go in and kick Donald off the server, kind of thing.
For what?
Well, you're fucking cheating. It was like, this is my redstone machine. It was like, there's no redstone here, fucking Joe. So this is a duplicator. It was just great, man. So, and I could not get enough of it, especially since, like, you and I played a shitload of Minecraft. Yeah. And so, you kind of understood. I mean, the Modern Warfare stuff was pretty good, too. Or the Call of Duty stuff was pretty good, too. So, I didn't hear anybody call anybody a corner fag, but...
No, but that was our language, not theirs.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm not saying that we sort of had the market cornered on homophobic slurs, is that we had that was simply integrated into our shorthand, right?
Right, yeah.
That's all it was. That was.
Yeah, but it was so close to that, man. On some of the videos, it was so freaking good. And so the thing about it is, like, Joe Biden and Donald Trump have so much so much audio footage out there
Yeah.
that it's way better. So they like try and kick in George W. Bush from time to time. It doesn't sound right.
Right.
So
Right.
they try to do JFK. Your JFK or your Nixon is way better than their Nixon. So, but it's not going to be that long, man. And that's kind of what I started to realize. And that actually did start to creep me out a little bit, man. So just because it was like, yeah, if Joe Biden was 28 and was playing Minecraft, this is what he would sound like.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it was totally. The Donald Trump, I mean, they got so much video footage on him or audio on him that it's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's absolutely fucking perfect. So I don't know, man. It started me thinking about like the next 6 months to a year. Who the fucking knows what's going to actually be legit on a lot of this stuff? Yeah, I mean, you could easily fake audio tape on either of those.
They're doing it now. I mean, this is the
Absolutely,
this is
I've seen him do it with Joe Rogan. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit weird in that I gave this a little bit of thought because again, this is something where sometimes you see the technologies sort of like creep up on you, right?
Right.
And
yeah.
then there are some times where it's there. So this is, just to go back in history to like 2007, it's not like there weren't phones that didn't have touch screens. It's not like there weren't phones, that sort of thing. The iPhone comes out and people think that, Apple invented this. It was like, no, this is all just like a brush together, like this is all old tech. But they're the first
He
ones
just
to make
brought
it
it
look
together.
good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that's part of it was at that point, it wasn't long before the game was on. It wasn't that long before like people had phones, right? But now everybody's phone looks like a slight variation of each other, right? Depending on what you like. And it's like, so was this did aliens drop this out of nowhere? It's like, no, not at all. But this is something where it lands and people see, okay, you can do this, we can mess with this, we can mess with this, and suddenly it's ubiquitous, right?
Well, it catches on. Yeah. Yeah.
Suddenly it's all there,
Right.
and it's a very unusual thing. And yeah, the implications of it, I mean, if you get down to it, there's something good and very bad about this at the same time. Number one, it's a very dangerous tool, right? Especially the closer we get to election season, right? Because remember,
Yeah.
the dangerous thing about this stuff isn't that it's debunked, it's that if people hear it once, believe it, right? And even if it's debunked like 2 days later or even later that next day, people heard it one time and they've already thought, okay, this guy thinks this.
It's already baked in. Yeah.
Or the second possibility, which could be a very, very, very good thing, is don't believe it unless you hear it yourself.
So, that's interesting that you mentioned that because I was kind of coming to the same conclusion. I was actually driving down to school today thinking about this in some respects. And, all right, so this is going to sound a little bit archaic.
Please.
But after thinking about, like, the fact that you can probably see whatever you want to see.
Yes.
All right. And whatever narrative you actually want to put out there will be backed up by AI proof.
Yes.
Quote, unquote proof.
Absolutely.
Soon to see. It was interesting because I actually threw out a phone book yesterday. Yeah, I know. I actually had one.
What were you holding on? Well, you know what? I got one downstairs too.
Well, I mean, yeah. It was just one of those things where it was like, so when do I get the version of a cultivated source of resources that is legit?
Explain.
All right, so YouTube channels. So like I've been going left and right and up, down, and center on YouTube channels like lately, trying to figure out ones that are, all right, this is good content.
Right.
All right, this is somebody who's actually putting his work in.
Yeah.
And somebody who's actually focusing on shit and stuff like that, as opposed towards like whatever's AI generated, like all the shit that I was watching last weekend, getting a fucking royal chuckle out of.
Yes.
Okay, but it was like, wait a minute, that's a problem. Okay, because I know that shit's all generated. All right.
Right.
I can see that. Most people probably see that. All right. But at what point in time do I actually get, here's a legit, like somebody's actually taking a peek at all this shit, and okay, whatever these guys say, I can take it with a little bit more, less of a grain of salt
Right.
than I can with
right.
everything else. And so it occurred to me today, driving down there, that, I mean, this is really archaic. So, but at what point in time do we get to, where, okay, so this person who you trust because they're not going to fuck you over, they don't have a political agenda like Ma Bell used to do. These are a bunch of people that you can listen to, and this is the narrative at this point in time, as opposed to it's like, oh, well, just go find people, and, glom on to whatever you want to glom onto. But that's exactly what the AI, and particularly like the YouTube algorithm, is designed to seek out. All right. So not a cultivated set of sources, but what are you going to click on next?
Right.
Yeah. And so I don't know, man. So I'm a little bit optimistic because I think in some respects, you and I have seen this thing go through its entire genesis. So from the beginning to now. So I was reading a Guardian article like yesterday where someone who was a little bit younger than you and I was fooled by the Pope's puffy coat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great picture
Actually,
and stuff
when,
like that.
when I saw that coat, I was like, that looks smooth.
It looks really smooth, but I knew that he was in a wheelchair already. He's been in a wheelchair for a couple of years. And I was like, man.
I thought he was cold. Like, so.
Right, yeah.
Well, no, when I saw it and I saw how ornate it was, I just thought it was like, you live in Rome. It was like, but.
Well, William has taught me about this, about like looking at some of these AI pictures to check out the hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I knew you knew that. Yeah. So that's one of the first things I go to see if it's fucked up. So, it was pretty good on that one, but I knew the guy was in a wheelchair. So.
Right. No, it wasn't. So, like, I didn't even give it a second's thought. I just thought, like, that's a cool looking coat, right? And I just figured, like, so if you think about, like, the Cobra guys from G.I. Joe, right? So you have all these general dudes, right? You have just the regular, like, Viper guys, and they have, like, the blue, uniforms and stuff like that.
Sure.
But they have these individual specializations that made the toy lines, variant.
Right?
The
rocket launcher guy.
Yeah. Well, even that, or like you'd look at like the alley vipers and the pit vipers, and they have all these different distinctions. And I figured just like, well, the Pope lives in Rome, so he rarely needs like warm clothes. But I figured that if he went somewhere that was cold, they just had like specialized like
clothes.
You would call it like it would be like an additional
winter Barbie Pope.
Yeah, it would be like an additional accessory that you buy for the Pope. This is like Pope coat. And if he, I don't know. It was just like, okay, so you had these. It's like being in the military. Like my dad had different uniforms for different.
Sure, yeah. Winter BDUs.
Yeah. And so same thing with the Pope. I'm like, this is a dope ass looking jacket.
Well, yeah.
It's not real, and that's unfortunate
it's fake.
because it then makes you turn around and say,
why doesn't he
should have a jacket like that?
Exactly.
Yeah. If he has to perform an exorcism in Siberia, and I know that they have grunts to be able to do that, but if they actually need Palpatine himself to come out there and actually
Popus Dominus.
Yeah. Oh, look, I still like to think that he can fly and shoot lightning, but that's just not the case.
He's probably the one guy who's a radioed guy.
I checked history. There's no reports of Pope shooting.
Right, yeah. Especially out of his fingers.
Right.
Yeah.
He can't summon
if
it.
If any Pope had done it, it would have been the previous one.
Yeah. Why does that Pope have like a book with like a face on it?
Why does it move?
Damn thing bit me.
Exactly. Why did they carry it in a bag?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, the implications of it are sort of like this is one of the hubbubs, and I think they're right to be concerned about this. Was the question that they asked ChatGPT the other day was they asked if it was uh, if a black person refuses to date a white person, is it racist? Same question to in reverse.
What did they say? What
Uh,
did it say?
with a black person that said, "Well, be careful about this. It could come across that way," and
Yeah,
on the white person said, "Yes."
right.
And that yes, I had some fun with that, and yes, I caused some trouble on that on social media. But that's
What kind of well, we know what.
oh well, of course, yeah. Look, and that wasn't even
The
the one that
PvP server.
that
Yeah.
wasn't even the one that like got the most traction. Shit, I pissed everybody off the other day, so that was fun.
With what?
Hmm. I can't remember which. This was somebody posted a side by side. This is basically about like the blackwashing of historical figures. I think it was Queen Charlotte.
I don't know.
It's I don't know, but basically, they're
Queen
showing.
Charlotte.
It's Queen Charlotte. I can't remember. I don't. It wasn't one that I really knew.
Yeah. Okay.
But basically, they're showing the side by side of here's this person in reality, and here's the person who's playing it on this Netflix.
Yay,
And,
phrenology. Yeah.
well, and so they just the joke they put it up there was to just put them side by side, and that was the joke. And it's just I was all I said was like, well, the original one. I'm like, well, the 1761 Queen Charlotte didn't steal my bike, right? And that,
Of course you would.
and
It's like, here, let me shake up this Molotov cocktail. Yeah. So you got to make sure you get all the diesel fuel in the wick.
it's like light up, guys. But yeah, that was that was that.
And it's still my bike. Jesus.
I told you, man. Bike. That's it.
Great,
It's,
man.
it's like
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's the kind of stuff there where yeah, you are finding things in here, and again, there's a question of why are these like AI scripts sort of like leaning this way when they're not supposed to be programmed this way. They're supposed to be like emergent. Um, but
Yeah, so there's this guy out there that I listen to.
neither here nor there.
Well, no, I get that. So there's this guy out there I listen to. He's great. Knows all the math behind it and everything. He was like, so all you're getting out of anything that is AI generated is the best and worst of whatever people have had to say. So because it has limits on what will it actually pursue in one way or the other. All right. And so if you push limits on one way or the other, it might pick up on that, but it's all based upon like whether or not other people pick up on that. And so really when it comes down to it, you kind of get this like little bit of a centrist thing. All right. But depending on how you phrase what it is that you want out of it, it's going to be, it's going to dish out to you whatever fucking like flavor of ice cream you want. Okay. Because it does not, it has not the capacity to actually think beyond that. The only thing it can do is think of it faster. So.
And that's sort of, I mean, that's exactly it, right? This is where, again, you and I have been at the precipice of this many times. Not even on like a science fiction level, but I can't even tell you how many. It's like watching that fucking dumbass history show from back in the day. What was it like Future Wars or whatever?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The guy that every time he came out there and there's a new kind of glove, and he's like, this type of glove is going to change the face of warfare forever. Right. And it's the same thing where you and I watched every little thing just pop up and say, this is going to change life forever. This is like life has remained largely the same. It's just that what you and I have done is we've seen the method of our tools basically change. So if we've like if you think about it in terms of like where your dad and my dad would have been back in the day when they took their heavy math classes and they said, all right, well now you have to graph this, right? Whereas the calculator do it for you, the TI, 85A or whatever.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
you sit
Which
there,
is only 20 years away.
yeah,
Yeah.
you look at that and you say, well, wait, you don't have to track it point by point and then get out this curve and do it like this with the compass like 4 times.
Yeah, I don't need a thing in order to do the thing. Yeah.
Dude, my dad
Yeah.
had a set of tools for doing math that looked like he was an expert draftsman.
Right.
And I bet you your dad did too. Like when you say, "Don't fuck with my good compass,"
Right.
you can play with this,
exactly. Yeah.
you can play with this crap one.
Those are my good knives. Yeah. Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, "Why do you still have this?" I was like, "What do you use it for?"
Well,
Right?
it's the same thing with the slide rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had one of those too. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
your dad did too. Yeah, and
Yeah. No.
so when it comes down to
My
what does he do
brother-in-law
then?
gave my father-in-law a really fancy slide rule, and it was like completely nostalgic.
That I totally understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was just like, this is a really cool tool.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I know how to use this, kind of thing. But it didn't do anything different. It just took longer to do
took
it.
longer.
Exactly.
Right? And that's really what AI can do, because it can't, we've talked this about, it cannot actually think for itself. It
Correct.
can disguise it better and better, and it can do things that you and I need to do way faster.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, well, yeah, you just shorten that point in time between, premise A and realization B. So more so than anything else. So it doesn't actually demonstrate any kind of skill upon the individual who inputs the information.
No.
So it
No.
just gets them to a point in time where they can actually get that information quicker and then hopefully process it in a way that AI cannot.
Right.
So, yeah. So, no, like I said, there's this guy, that I listen to. He's fantastic. So, but he's just like, it's just math. So, it's just doing math faster than you can. So, more so than anything else.
And the calculator always could.
Absolutely. Yes.
But you've improved the input.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly. You've improved the input. You've improved the interface. You've improved it to a point where, again, it's like you're talking to the machine to set your parameters, and you
Right.
have to be less and less specific because it can interpolate, what you're asking it a little bit better. And it's because it's quicker. You can also turn around and say, no, not that. No, not
right. Yeah, that's not what I was looking for.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Thank you for getting me there rather than me spending 2 years doing the math myself.
That's like kind of what Will's playing with the art, where it comes in with a general
Absolutely.
idea,
Yeah.
and then you sort of tweak it a little bit. To,
Oh shit! And if you had to draw that freehand, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally get that. So I guess the thing that I'm like a little bit concerned about with this, more so than anything else, is that people will take the shortcuts to get to where they need to be and build false premises based upon that in the future. So, because if you don't actually do the math, and see, I find this all the time with my students. All right, so all you want is the answer, but if you don't know the inputs that it takes in order to get that answer, okay, you cannot diagnose the problem.
Right.
All right, if you get a false answer. And so it's really easy to just glom onto the answer you get. Where most of the time, if you look at it, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, that doesn't make fucking sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because you still understand some fundamentals behind it.
Showing your work.
Well, yeah, showing your work, yeah, no, absolutely. Showing your work. But also at the same point in time, if you're writing a paper or something like that, just like walk me through all of your, your premises. And, if your premises make sense, then your conclusion should make sense. So a lot of people just jump into the conclusion. And that was the whole thing with the YouTube videos I was watching. It was like, oh, these are fucking hilarious. All right. So if your setup is to get me to laugh, all right, mission accomplished. All right. But obviously I know that this is not Joe Biden and Donald Trump and John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon playing fucking Minecraft Bed Wars.
Roger that.
Does that make sense?
Of course it does.
Yeah, okay.
No, the closest analogy with this kind of thing is like when I used to listen to guys talk about how the difference between like a good impressionist and a bad impressionist isn't the bad people rely on what was said to push the impression, right?
Mm.
And the good impression is basically understanding how a person says things, where they're like, well, I have the perfect voice for this, but you don't do
Oh,
this
right.
right, right?
Yeah.
And so they'll sit there and say, like, well, do your Arnold. And they say, like, well, I'm doing it because I say I'll be back, right? And that's
Right.
not how it
I'm
works.
Arnold.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Whereas the impression itself is how he, like, if you understand the mannerisms of his voice and you can make him call the hotel front desk, right? And basically complain because sewage is coming back up out of the tub,
Right.
right? That's where the impression comes
Right.
in
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
understand the
Yeah. Yeah.
mannerisms.
Yeah.
Same thing where people are like, well, I do a great Christopher Walken. It's like, right, because you're reciting this line from this movie, right?
Or doing it in that same staccato style every single time, but you
Right.
don't understand that's how he actually got to that.
Right,
Right.
right. But that's when you have to use what you've heard to interpolate the words that you never
See,
hear.
that's really insightful, man. That's the difference
It's really
between
what
like
it
a
is.
Jim Carrey impression of
Yeah,
somebody versus a Robin Williams one.
absolutely. Yeah,
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 gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha. Yeah.
As one guy said, he said the difference between a good Christopher Walken and a bad is how they use the word "but," right? Because he
Really,
says it in kind of an odd way, right?
but
Not that it's "but,"
but
right? It's almost like "bot," right? It's somewhere between. That's what I'm saying is you never hear him say that really.
right.
You get you get focused on the like you're talking to my man all wrong. It's the wrong tone, right? That's and that's what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
But when you get down to the but, right? That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's where you say
Yeah.
that's how you can tell the difference between a good one and a different one, and a bad one. And that's really what AI is catching up on, right? Is
Hmm.
at this point, it's like, yes, I can imitate this. I can listen to what's there. I have a, unlike your brain, I have access to everything that's been said by this person at all time. I can either
Right.
find that word, okay? But like the weird thing is, if you watch this is not Star Wars, okay? It's not. But if you watch Star Wars and you listen to James Earl Jones, he pronounces words differently many, many times,
Hmm.
right? This is a weird one. He fluctuates in between basically what would be like British pronunciation
Mhm.
and English pronunciation on the same word, right? So how do you imitate that?
Hmm. Well, you'd have to have a slightly nuanced
You
understanding.
average it, right? That's
Right.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you go in there and say
Or
like,
you just use that as an approximation of what is it actually you saying.
absolutely,
Yeah.
right? What's weird is that he says Falcon and Falcon.
Falcon.
the
Yeah, but
same
see, that's the
movie.
whole thing with all those YouTube videos I was watching. It's like you could instantaneously tell which ones were absolutely generated versus those that were a little bit cultivated to actually take in some of the nuance of how Donald Trump actually speaks and thinks.
Right.
Same thing with Joe Biden, you know? So they're just like slightly better scripts, not necessarily slightly better programs reading the scripts, but just slightly better scripts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, I mean, I don't know if people will be able to do this in the future, but I mean, I could tell a difference. So, I mean,
But
because
that's
some of them just like literally made me belly laugh.
right.
On some, it's
Right.
like, oh, that's fucking Joe Biden. Yeah, you know,
Right.
or that's Donald Trump. You know, or that's Joe Biden calling Donald Trump a fat orange fuck. You know, or an absolute dementia specimen. You know?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and it'll get better, but don't get me wrong. It's not.
Sure.
It's weird
Yeah, but
because
that'll be feedback into like folks like you and I will watch that shit, and so those will be highlighted as ones that actually work, and so the AI will learn from that better ones in the future. So
well,
maybe.
yeah, the way I see it is yes, it is going to get better, and it may get to the point where it actually, again, it's a refined technique, right? And eventually it'll get there. And frankly, the way I see this here is they're basically going to treat it like they would like a screen or copy of a movie, right?
Oh yeah,
Not
but there's
of
going to be millions of them out there.
well,
Yeah.
no, I don't mean that. Like, I mean the actual like printed ones, right? Where
Mhm.
if you've seen one of these things, right, they can tell who leaked what copy of what screen, like
Oh,
script,
absolutely, yeah.
because there's something in there
Well, that's the
that.
whole thing with Supreme Court like leak. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
Okay,
But
yeah,
yeah,
but anyway, so my guess here is at some point there will be like some kind of like AI scripting here where you can see like, all right, you can tell this is because when you play it, you can essentially see that this data line or whatever is running through it, and you're like, oh, okay, I can tell
sure,
who
yeah,
did this,
yeah,
I can tell where it came from, so I can vouch for its authenticity, or I can see that somebody tried to fake it, I can see the blah 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 blah. Of
yeah.
course, it's not foolproof, but
Sure, it's close.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. No. Well, and that's the whole thing is so on the education side of things,
Yeah.
people have been looking like, well, how the fuck can we tell whether or not like a student actually wrote something versus whether or not Chat GPT wrote
Yeah.
it? And you're right. So there's this like streamlined kind of thing, where it can detect within a certain margin of error.
Yeah.
It was like, no, this is algorithmically generated because it pulls it from the same sources in order to answer the same question. So you actually do have a bandwidth within there where it's like, yeah, it's probably, generated. Even if you put like a couple different adjectives, like I want to write this paper like angry,
Yeah.
or, reflective or whatever, it'll change things up a little bit because that goes into the data set. It actually generates the next word that comes
Right.
in there. So, but it can also detect that. And so it's actually fairly easy to detect. That's why I was kind of curious, like how much of the shit that I saw blow up on YouTube last week got murdered off of my feed the last 2 days. So,
I can't explain that.
no, I
I
can't either. I don't know
That's
the science
so
behind
far
it.
beyond me.
But as far as just statistics go, I mean, it was absolutely blowing up my feed for 3 days there. And all of a sudden it was gonzo. And so they're probably not that far different from each other, so where they can actually detect that and kill it off. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do. I don't think they should. So, but at the same point in time, whatever.
But, well, whatever form it takes, we're going to survive it. This is not
We'll be fine.
every technology that you and I have seen over the past God knows how many years has been the
Many.
end of things,
The
and
end of
it
things.
just never is. I remember, God, like if you one thing I got into doing, you're not going to believe this shit, is so with a lot of my students that are doing like SAT prep and stuff like this, right? I have to let them take the test, right?
Okay.
So that means I'm just sort of like proctoring because I'm waiting to see how they do, right? So I'm sitting there for an hour while they're doing this stuff, like, I'm going to do something, right? I'm sitting here at the computer, right? I started watching, you go on YouTube and you can watch blocks of commercials from different years. And so I'm sitting there just watching like commercials from years gone by, and I'm just looking at all the things that were supposed to change everything, the things that were supposed to.
Bud. Wiser.
It's, I mean, like, look, there are some constants here. It's like, fucking man, they have like shampoo has been a big deal for the past like,
It
30
has,
years,
yeah.
and the
Same thing with body soap.
yeah, and the commercials haven't changed. But then you sit there and look at like different like tech products and things like this, and you're like, this crap came and went so
Fuck,
fast.
that'd be interesting, man. Tech products that have come and gone.
Just they're this is the same. This is like what I'm talking about with AI. Like this could be seen something that people play with for
Right.
like a year, and then it kind of falls out of fashion, except for practical purposes. When some dude finds out, look, there's an application of this where I guarantee you somebody is like at Pixar saying, I can make 70 jobs redundant, right? Right now, because I can take this like rendering farm of what these guys are doing, and it's not going to be perfect. So if I have like 3 artistic overseers that basically change this, right? Got it. Got it.
Right.
We saw this happen where fucking you and I watched video gaming start from this like underground just gross people industry. Not, I don't mean like that, but I mean like you haven't seen the sun in a while, right? You have these like garage
The
programmers.
Sid Meier basement, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so we watch this, like, it explodes, right? Then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Bigger than movies.
Bigger than movies.
Yeah.
And what happens? It starts collapsing in itself
Yep.
like a star. And
Totally did.
we're right back over there at like indie territory, but they can do fucking 500 times more than Sid Meier can do with just the basic stuff that's there.
Oh, he did all his own graphics, so yeah, absolutely.
Did his own graphics, had to do all of the base programming, and a lot of this stuff is all like right there for you, right?
Right.
And that's sort of the thing. We'll see the tools, find a practical application, but it may fall out of favor where it's like, well, this like little AI thing, it's kind of fallen out of favor because people know it's fake. People know it's like,
well, and that's I don't know. I was thinking about that driving back today. Like, all right, so if you can generate this much interest on YouTube in 3 fucking days,
yeah,
and then it takes them that long to tear it back down, and there's this guy on YouTube that I watch all the time. He's great. So he's been around forever and stuff, but he's already putting up programs out there to write AI scripts for good YouTube videos and shit like that. I was like, all right, so there's just going to be like an inundation of fucking content out there, which means the ad content is not going to be there. Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen that happen so many fucking times.
Yeah.
So I mean, like even the early days of the internet. So it became like one of these things where it was like, oh, that's a pop-up, click. Yeah. Oh, no, I got an ad blocker, click.
Yep.
So how much garbage? And I mean, I've seen a lot of shit-tacular YouTube videos over the last 2 years that are just completely geared towards generating some kind of ad revenue towards a certain particular demographic and stuff like that. It's only going to take so much time before you drive the advertisers away on something like that, where they don't even give a shit.
Oh yeah, look, the newest wave on this, so I'm sure you've seen this many times, where you see things that these are things that are meant to get clicks once, right? So basically, what you have people right now that are they're scanning the headlines of certain things, right? And as soon as they see it, they make a low quality video about that headline. It's 10 minutes long, right?
Look at that. Now it's down to shorts. So yeah.
Right. And so basically, if people are searching for information about this headline in the 30 minutes or an hour after it's happened, right, you go ahead and hop onto this dude's for that news, and you get that brief explanation of this headline, right? What? This is not something that has like lasting value. And when you come down to it and say like, well, what was this person's effort into it? Well, they just found it. They made a quick video, quick recording, right? They'll get 200,000 views right there. But
absolutely,
you're never going to come back. You might have to delete it afterwards.
Yeah, you might as well. So yeah, no, there's very few evergreen stations or channels anymore. I mean, you're gonna find some here and there that you really like. You like the guy, you like what's going on, and stuff like that. But nowadays, any of the political folks that I watch, any of even Mark Blythe, who I love his videos when they come up and stuff like that. If it's 3 years old, I don't even fucking bother.
Waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, this is not evergreen. It's changed. There's a few podcasters. Dan Carlin's still out there. I love him. So, and he's gotten smart. He pumps out one a fucking year.
Yeah.
Now at this point in time, he's like writing a book, kind of thing. So, but he doesn't do anything that's modern. He got out of that 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
It's like, fuck it. I mean, because a lot of the podcasts you watch, or I watch, if it's an episode that's 2.5 years old, it's not even worth my fucking time. Tear it down.
Some of that actually, I do enjoy going back on older things, because sometimes I do love hearing what people's predictions are about the way things were going to be, who was going to do with, there's something enjoyable about that.
Yeah.
But that's because it's stuff that I've been around with for a long time. If it was just some jerk off that I pull up a podcast to and I'm listening to
And it's
them.
brand new, and you pop into one that's 4 years old, you're gonna fucking skip that shit. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pop in and I'm gonna listen to some dude in 2014 and say like, you really need to be afraid of Romney in these next 2 years.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
Like, I'll listen to you. I'll be
Yeah.
like, okay, tell me why, right? But you would have to be so funny about it, right, that it would be entertaining. At which point you could listen to anything.
You could listen. Yeah, no, you could. There's so many people out there you could listen to and find shit on that. Back in the day, so I've gotten ambushed by Bill Maher a few times on that one, where it's like 6 years ago, and he's got a
Yeah.
guy on there that I was like, oh, I like this guy, and it's like all of a sudden we're talking about like completely before George Floyd or
Oh yeah.
COVID or anything. It's like, you fucking guys, like Skip, yeah.
And you come back to an incident that you remember, but you completely forgot about. You hear these guys and they're arguing. It's like, boy, that guy makes a good point. And then he stops and says, so what are you mad about? Are you mad that they burned down a helpless park bench at Berkeley? I'm like,
Oh, right,
I
yeah.
remember that.
I remember that. I remember. Yeah.
I remember this.
I remember that. Yeah, or talking about like Hillary Clinton actually winning the 2016 election. I got ambushed by one of those the other day.
That's a bushwhacking, man. That's
It wasn't a bushwhacking, man. These are like pretty straight up guys and stuff like that. And they're like, well, Donald Trump has a better chance of being in the NBA than he does of being a president.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that aged well.
Oh, there's no greater version of that than fucking, Obama reading the tweets and he's like, what's one thing that Trump will
Right, yeah.
like
I've seen
president?
those.
Like, oh, huh, okay.
I find those slightly painful. So just because, I don't know, man. Obama was 8 years ago, 7 years ago now, and I he's got that old president sheen on him a little bit. That happens after a while. So I see George W. Bush talk like 3 weeks ago, and it's like, I remember you, man.
Yeah.
So I like you, brother. Kind of
Well,
thing.
so Obama, the thing I
So-
like about seeing him now is he really reminds me a lot of my my Goodyear repairman. There is a version of him now. At this point. It's like, not my problem. It's just like, this is just like,
He's
all
the
right.
Maytag guy.
He really is. Like, well, like stuff would come up. People like, Obama, this is going on. Not my problem. I'm not in charge anymore.
Not my problem.
I would do this, but I'm not in charge.
I'm not in charge.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you want me to come out there and say a nice thing about some people? I'll do that. Probably not the guy in charge right now because he's stupid, right? But
Yeah.
that's he's got that, and the difference, like George W. Bush is he has,
They all say the same thing about him
It's-
back
yeah.
in 2006, 2007. Like our president's a retard, but now I look back and I was like, I miss you, man.
yeah, that's the thing. There's this difference. It's like Brando at the beginning of The Godfather, and then at this point, you get to the point where he cuts up the orange and he puts it in his mouth and he's chasing around the ranch, and you're like, wait, this is the same person, right? And he's at that orange in the mouth sort of part in his life where you're like, I'm not interested in what you have to say politically. I don't know. You don't run the family anymore.
No,
right? You're
no.
just grandpa at
Yeah,
this
you're
point.
just grandpa.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, the party's fucked. So
Well, and this was okay, Pat. This was something that came up.
actually, the Democrat Party is fucked.
Bro, you don't know.
I don't
half of
think.
it.
I don't think. Yeah, I just can't watch it.
Well, this
So-
last incident that happened in the past 2 days,
What's that?
the shooting in
Oh well.
this
So the
has
Democrat Party
showed
and
the
its fucking
fractures
supporters are
worse than anything
I
else.
know.
man.
I watched that happen.
Imploding in real time.
And so, okay, so to be fair, the first, I'd say 10 to 24 hours, nobody got the fucking story right. So
I knew it.
well, I know you knew it because you're on the 8chan and you saw the fucking videos.
Oh,
I get it,
man.
But yeah,
Those people had that person pegged in like 45 minutes. I'm like,
Well, I get that, but
oh shit.
so none of the media outlets got it right within the first 24 hours. So
No, they did
no,
not.
they were like, well, okay, who is this? Is it man, woman? Is it male to female, female to male?
Yeah.
Nobody fucking knew. So I saw both major sides of whatever you want to call it, mainstream media, get it wrong within the first 24 hours. So, and then it didn't take too long for everybody on one side of it to turn it into a gun issue.
Yep.
Which I don't know. If you had asked me like last week, is like, Pat, if there's going to be a major shooting next week, write down everybody's position and just autofill it at that point in time. Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. I don't know, man. So the Democrats are in a position. So it's different. It depends on where you kind of see them going. That whole far leftist side is absolutely fucked.
It is crumbling as we speak.
Well, it's been crumbling for a year. So, or maybe two.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah. So the all right. So, and
it's just Dunzo, man. So it's just Dunzo. They're not going to play a significant role in American politics for the next fucking. So they really aren't. So I mean, it's so fractured. I saw them turn on each other within 36 hours after that. So which has happened over the last couple major issues that's coming up. Where, okay, where's the left stand on this? They cannot fucking agree on it.
Like, what left?
Exactly. That's yeah, well, the left. You're talking about, like, the far left, like the Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal, fucking, I mean, well, you can't even put TYT over there anymore or anything like that.
No, fucking Anna Kasparian got blown the fuck up.
Absolutely, yeah. No,
you saw that?
Yeah, I did, and it was like, okay, so you're gonna plant landmines on your own fucking guys now? Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. So I mean, this is why we lost Vietnam, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's absolutely what's happening over there, and everything is either. Well, it's still like reparations detected, sir.
Yeah.
So, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or we don't want to fucking work, and it's bullshit that we actually have to work for a living. So after we spend all this money on education and blah blah blah, and stuff like that, I totally got that impact. Now, at point in time, and they're never going to agree on that shit, and they're just going to spin off into the ether. So as like completely irrelevant. Even Joe Biden has cut them loose. So.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, no, I get it. I mean, all right, so I know you and I disagree about Joe Biden in some respects, but if he is not running the administration, then whoever is running the administration is pretty fucking good at actually isolating those people and calling them fucking crazy. So,
well, I mean, to a point.
To a point, but also at the same point in time, he's always going to throw out lifelines.
Yeah.
All right, but you're talking about having 20 people in the water. He's going to throw 2 of them out there. If they climb up, cool. If they don't, okay, fucking, you got to swim.
Yeah.
In order to make it this way. So even if he's not in charge of the administration, so they're actually doing a pretty good job of actually completely fracturing the left. So, and it's going to be completely irrelevant in the next election. So,
well, this is the weird thing is when it comes to, and I've talked about this with students, that we've compared, governments and things like that and how it works here in the States. I was like, well, I've talked about this with you before. It's like we exist on a pendulum. That's exactly how it works.
But I don't think it's a pendulum that necessarily swings left and right.
Well, no. Yeah. The way that this works here is basically like you gain things on your side, okay, because you basically push something one direction or the other direction so far, right?
Okay.
And you push it so far that basically what's on the back end gets ticked this way. It's sort of like that dragon ride at the Viking boat at the carnival, right? Where this is the back end, right? So if you want something that's toward the middle, you have to push right farther, right, to do this. Same thing goes with the left side. If you want something left,
Yeah.
you have to push farther to get something in the middle. Because, like, for right now, right?
Yeah, but eventually you fall off.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? And you think,
Yeah.
oh, what did we lose by when we fall off? Well, you actually gained a tick this way.
Yeah, you
But it's
lost
not what
weight.
you saw over here where
Right.
you're like, and this is the exact same thing. This is the funny thing is that people are like, oh no, these are all different. It's like, stop saying horseshoe theory, blah blah blah. It's like, fuck you, it's a horseshoe, because like when you look at it, it's like, so what happened to that all powerful, all encompassing, controlling everyone's life Christian right? It's not dead, right? It's not dead. It still exists. But this is not a vocal crowd anymore. Why? Because,
They've moved towards the center.
well, yeah. And how
Yeah,
did they
they're
move
not
towards the center?
stupid.
Because the stupid people on the side, right? When they started getting like, guys, we can't be associated with people who fucking bomb abortion clinics. You're making us all look like assholes.
Yeah, they
right?
got kicked off the right side of the boat.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
what
yeah,
happens?
yeah,
The
yeah.
thing just like whoosh, right? It goes.
Yeah.
But you got some of the things that you wanted in the middle, right? When you were pushing it that far. Same
Sure.
thing goes this direction. Well, at this point, you're like, all right, you're pushing things this far. You have now clicked over and pissed people off.
Yeah, no.
And they want to disavow themselves from it.
Yeah, no, you're parallel to the Christian right in the it's probably the height of the Bush days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I would say
The
like
George W. Bush days. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say HW days.
No, yeah, I mean, you had a Clinton moderator there. That's the other way. Back towards it. It was when they got associated with the neocon,
Whatever factory.
whatever factory,
the
the military industrial
Yeah.
complex, which I think is
Oh man,
complete
it hurts you
bullfuck.
so much to say those words in that order.
I just well
Like your
because
throat doesn't want to shape the words
dude, there's
anymore.
like lefty guys out there that I've really followed for years who have completely bought into this bullshit about it. But all you have to do is the fucking math. All right, there's not that much money behind it in order to actually like swing that much of the electorate. So and I mean they're doing the same thing with Ukraine right now. So I mean, you take a look at it, all right? So we send $80 billion to Ukraine, all right? $80 billion is less than 10% of our military budget, which is less than 8% of the federal budget. So you're talking about less than eighth of 1% to actually fucking, have Russia gore itself on a fucking barbed wire fence. That ain't hard, man. That's easy math. So,
No, I got it.
but for people to sit there and say, like, well, that would be money that would actually, like, fucking fix all of West Philadelphia. It's like, you're that, okay. You guys need to do that on your own, okay? So that doesn't exactly give America high-speed fucking trains.
Okay, because you're the point that you make on that's brilliant is like, so were you fixing it when the money was there?
Correct.
So now it's a problem?
Now it's a problem.
It was
really?
a paradise
Yeah.
before, and now, yeah.
Right, yeah. We took that money from you. It's like, give me an up down on how much cheaper this is than World War fucking III, please. So
Oh my
please,
God, yeah.
yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so that whole like, and I mean, I've seen Glenn Greenwald do this several times. Like, I love that guy, man.
Yeah.
I think he's a badass and stuff like this, but I think he's spent a little bit too much time in Brazil now. I mean, his whole position. I don't know if you saw his video on TikTok a couple days ago. It's like, come on, brother. So
Wow.
this thing's bad news. So, and it's not about like us trying to control a narrative and shit like that. It's the fact that, okay, so if you take a look at our TikTok versus what the Chinese actually put out as their TikTok.
Yeah.
All right, so come on, man. This is like it's completely different comparison. All right. And so I know you want to punch back at the media. I know you want to punch back at the government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But eventually you got to get to the point in time where you look at something and you say like, well, wait a minute, they're doing this. They take off all the brakes on this.
Yeah.
And let us like talk about like fucking, well, even the China guys were talking about this is like fucking, NyQuil chicken and, what is it? Unmurder yourself? No, it's unlive yourself or whatever.
What's this?
Well, the whole like suicide trend. Um, I can't remember what. So, but
And it's
anyway,
recent?
yeah, it's recent.
Oh.
So yeah, and it's like, all right, so there's no breaks on this form of the algorithm,
Yeah.
but over there, it's all like wolf warrior diplomacy,
Yeah.
and everything's awesome, which is completely untrue.
Yeah.
So it's like these are not comparable, man. And I mean, there's this like news show that I try and watch every couple days, and they try and be balanced about this shit, but they're even still buying into that stuff because they all buy into the fucking, you know, oh, the media is trying to control the narrative, and it's all about American exceptionalism and blah blah. It's like fuck you, fuck off with that shit. All right, so like, yeah, we actually are the good guys. All right,
Yeah.
around here,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, give us that due at least. So if someone wants to come in our country and, okay, fine. I mean, yeah, you came from a shitty place. So knock yourself out. Have at it. So put whatever you want up there on the social media. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. We'll suffer it all. But when you have a company that's like completely like, oh, okay, so over here it's complete free for all, and we're just gonna put out whatever's there, as opposed towards over here where it's like, oh no, 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 no. We're not gonna talk bad about the government. We're not gonna talk about Uyghurs. We're not gonna do
Right.
this. We're not gonna do
Right.
that and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, the fuck. These are not comparable things. So yeah.
No, they're not. They're
So
not. They're not. No, and this is again, this is the same. This is the same argument that I made, right? It's the same argument that I'm making against the last, because when it comes down to it, like I've gotten in a couple of like fucking arguments, and I'm not going to talk about where it's stupid,
that's fine.
but the question is like, so what are you, right? And the answer has been, it's like the more that people say this, the more they say it's true. It's like, I'm a free speech absolutionist, right? Absolutist,
Yeah.
right? And I kind of always have been, and that's where
You
like
have.
whichever party is going to pull me towards that is who gets me, right?
Sure.
And so this stupid tap dance I've seen around different groups at different times, policing speech for whatever reason, like, okay, well, this is against God. It's like, all right, well, that's cute. And then these guys are like, well, violent video games are for, not for children. It's like, no,
I
fuck
remember
you,
that.
right? And then I sit there and like, guys, you're looking at this corny ass pixelated blood on Mortal Kombat and fucking pitching a fit. Then I see it this other way where it's like, well, if you don't censor fascist ideas, you cannot tolerate the intolerant. I'm like, no, that's stupid. The thing that you have to do is let bad ideas out to dry, right? And
They'll wilt in the sun. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if your good ideas can't counter bad ideas, your ideas fucking suck.
Yeah.
Right?
So I guess I do have some limits on that. So I guess I put a little bit more guardrails on it than you do. So
I protect the groups that can't hear it. Like,
sure,
I'm not going to sit there
yeah.
and say like, well, all right, well, kids can't hear this, right, or whatever. But in terms of
Sure, yeah.
actually,
Yeah. No, I got you on that. So,
and even then, that's something that I sort of like carefully meet out and think about. Well, actually, kids could be fine with this. It's up for them to decide. But yeah, that's
yeah.
been my perception for a long time. It's like, don't censor things, let the crap come out there, right? And again, that's sort of where I'm coming with this, and that's where like the news part comes in. Like, you see dudes like Greenwald and guys like this, guys that Taibbi, right? That dude is Rolling Stone reporter, right? And it's like, people are saying, well, you're an alt-right puppet at this point. I'm like,
no.
You say that, but
how many of your books have you read? Yeah, I know.
Stupid shit.
So I mean, like, he had a really good one several years ago on Eric Gardner, and he was very fair about it. So and he actually like changed my mind about stop and frisk on a lot of things. He was not on the side that you would think that he was with that. He's like, it's fucking bullshit. So and. All right, so here's a guy. Yeah, he's, slinging, broken packs of cigarettes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but, the entire NYPD with a stop and frisk program and, the metrics that were imposed upon them by not just the NYPD, but also Giuliani before then, it was complete bullshit. And like nobody who looks at them today from the mainstream media will actually give them any credit for that, actually arguing that side of the case. So, and I mean, Tybee's got a little bit of bullshit behind him too. He's a little bit hyperbolic, about a lot of
Journalists.
He's a journalist. I know, but he's also kind of one of these stick in your eye journalists, where like if he's got a good hit on you, he's gonna not just stick it in there, he's gonna twist it right. Yeah. Which is exactly what he's supposed to do, man. So I mean many times he's actually like called himself. I don't think he's actually called himself, but a lot of other people have actually said, well, actually you got Hunter S. Thompson's job.
Right.
After he did. And so this is kind of what we expect of you. And so that's what he's done.
Right.
So, and it's completely different than what Glenn Greenwald has done, which has been a little bit more, I'd say sober, but also a little bit more punchy.
Well, because Glenn Greenwald, on the other hand,
he doesn't make jokes.
Well, so number one, he doesn't make jokes. But the other thing too is for him, there is still a part of him that you could tell in his writing and his tweets and everything. Like, you guys hurt me.
Right? Well, yeah.
And that comes out in his writing.
It
comes out where it's like, you fucking guys. It's
you
like
fucking guys. Yeah. So no, but I mean, so the thing with Greenwald is though he does get a little bit over his skis from time to time. So
there you go.
Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I'm not exactly sure where I'm going, but it's probably gonna end in like somebody noticing what I'm doing. So whereas Teddy's a little bit more measured in his punches. So even though he tries to do it like Joker style, like okay. Yeah.
Some men just want to watch the world burn. Yeah, I know.
Some men just want to watch the world burn, and Matt Taibbi would like to see your gas station burn down.
There's part of him that's kind of like, well, this is, and I get it. There's that perspective. It's like, journalism is a loaded gun with one bullet, right? It's like, what do you aim it at, and what do you do with that, right? And that's
Greenwald runs around with a shotgun, so yeah.
Yeah. He look at him too. That's just kind of like, it's like he finally like got revenge on the people that like I thought we were on the same side, right? And then fucking it's high school prom, and you guys dump this bucket of pig's blood on me, and
but so there's a number of journalists from back then who are right about the Iraq War. Okay. So Greenwald's one, Taibbi's another. There's a couple others that I listen to. They're all great. But the thing about it is like Greenwald is one of those guys who won't fucking let it go. All right. And so it's like, hey, bro, that was 20 years ago. And so, I see all this stuff on the foreign policy side of things. It's like, well, who are we to tell Russia what to fucking do now? And it's like, all right, so, the Iraqis and the Afghanis taught us this lesson for the last 20 fucking years. I think we've actually learned our lesson on this one. All right. So we'll take the hit. Let's move on. All right.
Yeah.
This is not a condemnation where what do we fucking do? We just tear down America and say we're sorry at this point in time? No, of course we're not going to fucking do that. Okay. So, but yeah, you get that sense from Greenwald. You get a little bit from Taibbi, but not as bad. All right.
That's not his bag. It's
not his bag. Foreign policy is not his bag. So even though he's like spent all that time in Russia and he's probably be really good on this entire thing, he doesn't want to touch it. So,
No, I agree. Yeah. But a lot of that right now is he has a captive crowd hanging on every word because he has, specific inside knowledge of certain things.
He does, but I'm gonna like the last couple posts that he's done,
pretty tame.
Well, yeah, they're pretty tame, but like he's revealing things that are a little bit more substantial than he was in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's also like, okay, fine, we got it. All right, so the FBI obviously is going to shut that shit down. If they don't get shut down, they're going to get shut down by the Republican Congress. They probably already have, on that stuff. It's like the thing that like really struck me about the entire thing was how much Homeland Security was playing in that. Well, of course, and all that shit's probably
absurd.
been burned down to the core now. So at this point in time, it's like, okay, well, you guys are going back to like, monitoring the fucking TSA at this point in time.
Good.
So stop that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I guarantee you, like some of those guys in Silicon Valley who were in charge of whatever the California division was, they're fucking gone. And if they're not fucking gone, then they're at least sidelined, for the remainder of their careers at this point in time. So, and okay, maybe some of them will go to jail. I mean, we have to determine whether or not any of that shit was actually illegal. So, as opposed to a violation of civil rights. So,
We'll see.
yeah, we'll see.
So
Yeah,
basically,
no.
like when the question there, of course, is what do you do when power changes?
That's up to
Right.
Mike McCarthy at this point in time.
It is.
Yeah, no, and I think he's doing a great job with it.
agree.
He's actually flushing a lot of that shit out, which means like basically a lot of those dudes are going to be put on the sidelines or hey, it's time to retire,
Well,
buddy.
and that's going to be the question. Is look, these guys are going to get washed, right? We know it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it has to happen,
Yeah.
right? But the question is it okay to wash them and say like, all right, good, or do you have to say like, no, you guys are Mussolini's. We have to drag you through the streets and then hang you by your feet where everybody can spit on you. And the
If
question
that
is,
doesn't happen to Fauci, it won't happen to anybody else.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if he gets got. I have no idea. I don't know how.
I don't know how the law works.
The way the shit is playing out right now is I am so fucking like the implications of everything here. Look, when all said and done with the information that's come out, all right, when the shit flips over, there's going to be a lot of January 6th stuff that comes out and says like you guys fucked up. Okay, this was a huge overreach. This was a big fuck up, and the question is, do you basically like let the stuff slide, or do you sit there and harp on it for 4 years and say, oh, this is the greatest travesty, blah 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 blah. It depends on what you do with it, because a lot of times it's like, all right, it's over and done with, correct the mistake. But
right.
this is the thing, this is the problem I used to have with my dad at times, right? And we've all had this problem with parents or people that you get into an argument with, where it's like, all right, so this person hurt you, right? And there was an injustice done, right? They correct the injustice, or they get you to admit it's like, no, I did that wrong, man, I'm sorry, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right. But then you're like, all right, so I admitted I was wrong, you accepted that an hour ago. Why is it for the next hour you've been sitting there talking about, yeah, but this hurt me, man, this is like,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm talking about, is that doesn't do anybody any favors at that point. You get a little bit of it, right? You got to get slapped around a little bit, right, afterwards, right? But you don't sit there and just like beat it and beat it and beat it. It's this is not going to endear people to your side, right?
Well, and I don't know how much of it is going to be like your side versus my side, as opposed to just towards like the individual level. So, like I've maintained since that entire January 6th thing. So, some of them fuckers absolutely positively had bad intentions.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
Sure.
I'll
And
give
so,
you that.
yeah, no. And so if they get their pee slapped and it's like, or they get their lives fucking upturned, because they had bad intentions at that point in time, cool. All right. So, but if, fucking Mr. Shaman guy was absolutely railroaded, he's got a tort. He's got a grievance that should be addressed, and that's going to be on the individual level. It's not going to be on the national level. So,
That's the question, is how many people,
right.
yes, are there bad actors in there? Yeah, I bet there were. I can't distinguish. I can't break it down and say these guys were this.
I know.
The footage will tell the tale.
The footage tells a little bit of both tales. So, the question is like, you got the 800 guys running around, some of them break windows, some of them don't.
Some don't.
Some of them do right and say, hey, don't fucking touch that. Others of them, yeah, they fucking touch that and take your laptop, and other people's are running around with zip ties, and other people are like, oh, taking pictures.
And that's
so that's not something we can sort out on an aggregate level, man. So
no, but you can look at certain things where you say, all right, well, if you guys had all this, then why did you present it this way? Why did you stop people from being able to see the rest of this footage? This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I
That's
understand that, but some of that actually did come out in those individual trials. So, we just didn't see it on our level.
They weren't allowed to use that in
Some
their
of them,
defense.
some of them were. So I don't know why some were and some were not. I don't understand the law behind that. Okay, so and it's too complicated to actually boil it down to like a single narrative on that one.
Of course. No,
Yeah.
you're talking about multiple
Yeah.
people with multiple agendas, right? Look,
Well, and I think 90, like just Bayesian reasoning would say that 90% of the people there were just like caught up in the moment. That's fine. All right. So, if you didn't break a window, fine. You didn't fucking break a window. Off you go. So don't do it again, kind of thing. But yeah, there were some guys who did that. And so that's what complicates the entire fucking thing. All right. And yeah, there's definitely people who have political motives on one side to actually paint all these dudes as a bad fucking crowd, and they're not. Okay. But, I mean, okay, I'm glad that at least all of the footage is out there. And I went
well,
through,
it's not all out.
a lot of it's out of there. And so it's not terribly hard to find now.
I mean, there's tons of it, man. There's
well, yeah, exactly.
I could sit here from back to back and sit there and watch all this.
And see, I was trying to do that with some of it. It's like too fucking much, and so that's why it has to go down to that individual thing. It was like, all right, bro, this is not like a terrorist thing. It's not an insurrection kind of thing. It's an individual crime kind of thing. It was like, oh, okay, did you take that shit? And it was like, no, I'm right there and I didn't touch nothing. All right, cool. Off you go. All right. And then there's other people who's like, is that you? Did you break that shit? Did you take that shit? Did you point that gun at that guy? All right. That's different. That's a different issue.
Different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
but again, the problem doesn't come down to that. It's when you had the incident, okay, and when you did have the actors in there, because what they can prove at this point is, yes, there were agitators within the crowd. That's indisputable, okay? There were agitators within the crowd.
And they were on both sides of things, too. You were absolutely right about that whole Antifa thing. So, and several of those guys have fucking gone to jail.
But that's...
So, it took me a lot of digging to find that. But, yeah.
But that shouldn't be something that's hard to find. This is what I'm talking about.
It's totally hard to find, man.
This is what I'm talking about. That shouldn't be hard to find. When it comes down to it and you have so much evidence of guys like, that dude is deliberately trying to like.
Yeah, but that's an exposure issue. That's not an actual factual issue. So
well, no, it was that. I'm telling. This is the stuff where presenting that kind of stuff. Before like the Musk buyout, that shit got you banned. That's what I'm talking about.
That's a different issue than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what actually happened.
Oh no! But that's what I'm saying is
no.
When you're saying
you're totally
that
right.
Shit should be hard to find. It's like no, it shouldn't. This information is information, right? And
no,
so when
you got to dig for it, man. But it's there. So like the problem with it is like so it involves the capital, so which involves the individuals from particular districts from each state, so who have to go up to federal court, blah blah blah. And so you have some federal prosecutors in certain areas who are more willing to spend resources on that shit than others. So, okay, maybe that's a different issue. All right, but when it comes down to it, if you look at the individual actions that were actually taken on that point in time, actually it's kind of interesting, how would you actually mount a revolution anymore, because you can actually just determine all of the actions of everybody in a single place at a single time based upon having enough cameras on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's fucking weird. So
but
I get you on the whole narrative. So about, all right, we're gonna paint everybody in a certain light, which is complete utter bullshit.
We're going to release this footage and this footage alone. We are going to ban exposure of people.
So those are two different things. That's the government side saying we're going to only release so much, and then there's the fucking social media side that decides to pick that up. Those are separate things.
But that's part of what they're talking about. Is
totally get
the communication between those two.
Totally get it.
To organize that thing, where if you say
totally
if you're using this as an arm of the government,
absolutely, and I
All
think
of you go to
Taibbi's
jail
done a
for
really
that.
good job. Well, I don't know if they go to jail, if that's like actually a criminal violation or if that's a civil rights violation and people would actually have redress against those in the future. That's different. All right. So, but when it comes down to it, I think the thing that the whole Twitter files is actually exposed is like, hey, all right, so the media is fractured. It's not what it was 20 years ago, which a lot of people, including my in-laws, still think that it's all kind of like this thing. All right. So, well, it's not anymore, man. I mean, so if you take a look, if you're going to read the Washington Post, New York Times, if you're going to watch CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, or stuff like that, you basically live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Yes, you do.
So, fuck them. Who the fuck cares what they think? It's a little tiny piece of America anymore. Okay?
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. And
the same thing with all the people in, like government, Congress, and stuff like that. We're going to cater to that, thinking that that's actually got an impact. They're fucked. All right? So there's so many people out there who have demonstrated that, if you're going to actually connect with your constituents anymore and actually have some kind of impact upon what people think around you, you better be connected to them. So, I mean, I watched Pueblo flip over to Bobert County.
right.
I've seen so many people around here in Colorado who love Jared Polis, but could tell the Democrat Party to fuck the fuck off.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
It's like a riddle of the Sphinx. It's like, when is a Democrat not a Democrat?
I got one right up there for you, buddy. And I would absolutely, positively vote for him if he actually decided to run for president, which he's not going to do because he's too fucking smart. So,
Yeah,
but like other people outside of Colorado, they're like, oh, you're run by a Democrat. I was like, maybe.
But that's, I mean, again, to turn around.
So he sent a bunch of immigrants up to New York City. So,
Dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is something that I've had to discuss with like Russians and people from all this other stuff that know things about Colorado. It's like, so you're like, is that why? I was like, no, man. Weed doesn't pass first in the country unless you have Democrats and libertarians.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those two things where they have that intersection to say that, we're going to actually risk causing trouble with the federal government because you have enough people that are willing to say, well, I want to get high. And then you have a bunch of people that say, I could give a fuck about getting high. It is just nobody's business. It's like, if I decide that I want to smoke a car battery.
You pulled over yellow tea, man.
You did, yeah. It's just like, if I want to grind up a battery and take it to the brain, that's my business.
That's my business. Fuck you.
Unless you don't have those two groups or an overwhelming like this. You're not the first one that goes out there and does this. Are you crazy?
Ground up battery to the brain. There's our episode title.
You want to write that
down? I'll let you do it, man. So,
well, okay. So, that's the.
No, you're spot on with that.
And yeah, if you have somebody, that's the point. Is like and this, frankly, this is what the Colorado does right in this regard. Is it's like, well. It's not the party as much as who's actually representing the core values of what I want. And
exactly.
Given the way that the parties have shifted, right? I couldn't take Polis and say, well, this dude's a Democrat. No, because
a double D Democrat.
A double D Democrat. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't say that.
That's a good episode title too.
Yeah. It's just a huge gazongas, right? No, it's like. That's the problem here is, well, it's not really a problem. That's what you're supposed to be doing is like, well, the party's just an entity. That's it, right? They don't even come close to representing you. They can't. If they do. No,
you got to plug into the pieces of it that you agree with. Yeah. And you got to take it opposed to the other side and decide which one you actually agree with a little bit more.
When fucking Anna Kasparian says, don't ever call me a person with a uterus again, right?
She can fuck the fuck off. Yeah.
In that party, yeah, it's the same thing. It's like,
any part of the party that actually would align with that. They lost my vote. So,
I mean, people sit there and say like, well, what happened to Tulsi? It's like this same thing. She's like, stop doing this crap.
Yeah.
You're going to kill us here. I promise you I'm going to end on this because this is a fucking like tard fight that I got into, right? Is
Come on, it's healthy.
no.
Oh,
Pat,
okay.
all right. So, all right. There's two parts to this, and I want your input on both. Okay. But the whole thing came down to I'm not sure if you've heard people like tout this off of that one image, basically like the old Black Lives Matter picture where it shows the guy and he's spraying water on a house that's not on fire, and he's saying all
I
houses
haven't seen
matter.
that
Okay,
yet.
well this is the dumbest shit on the planet. Where it's the argument about the nomenclature of Black Lives Matter, right? And they say that you have to pay attention to the house that's on fire, right? So you don't say all lives
Oh,
matter,
okay, I got
right?
it.
And so that's why they illustrated with that dumbass picture of the guy spraying water on the house that's not burning. They say, I believe that all houses matter. It's like, no, you retard. You've oversimplified this. Fuck off, right? But the thing was, this came down to like signage in this classroom, right? And my whole point it was, you have all this fucking rainbow crap, and you have BLM on the board and protect trans kids and all this other stuff. I'm like, look, get that crap out of the classroom, right? Like, it's not because I don't agree with any of those things. It's that every single one of these things that you have up on the walls is basically the messaging is divisive, right? The if
Sure,
you
yeah.
explain it, okay, if you explain it, say actually what this means is we want to pay more attention. It's like, yeah, but these are fourth graders, right?
Hmm.
If you read the message and you say, all right, well, this is divisive because, well, who lives matter? Black lives matter. What kids need to be protected? Trans kids? I'm like, the fuck are you doing, right? Why would you point at this and then you say like, well, because you have to pay attention to this and say these are the groups that are in danger? I'm like, well, actually, you don't. That's the problem. Okay, that is the exact problem because now you have these, and I say, where's my reputation, my representation for people from the West Indies? Where's my representation for Asians? Where's my representation? And the whole thing is like,
Yeah.
it was like, but you do the groups that is like, okay, so where's the sign about like, there's nobody more discriminated against the fucking untouchable caste in India. They have the suffering. It was like they have the suffering Olympics won 20 times over. Where's your board? It's like, well, that's not in this country. Fuck you, it's not in this country.
Yeah.
Man. All right. So it's like this is where that sort of absolutism of well, you have to say who's suffering the most. It's like, well, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But if you do say be cool to people that are different than you, that gets everybody, right?
Right.
And Pat, this came up with the stupid trans shit where they're like, let me break it down for you. How many people, Patrick? How many trans people, according to the FBI, how many trans people were killed in hate crimes last year?
Probably 10.
2.
Okay. I was within a magnitude of order.
You are. So there were like 44 total murders, right? 2 were hate crime driven.
Yeah, the rest of a relationship.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But this fucking idiot comes out there and he says, like, well, it's about questions of underreporting. I'm like, how so? Say, well, look at this study. Yeah, I looked at it. Now I'm going to ask you about methodology, Mr. Statsman.
All right, man.
Okay. So if I told you...
Got to end on this point, though.
We do, yes.
Okay.
So if we're going to talk about methodology, would you feel okay saying that there's a problem with underreporting if your study was based off of one self-reported survey of one group in Los Angeles?
That's strike one. I'm sorry, that's 2 strikes.
Okay. One group in Los Angeles. Again, self-reported.
Sure.
Of a group
that's normal though.
Of about 50 people.
Yeah, so not randomly selected. Yeah.
And it was about them saying whether they believed that the things that had happened to them were hate.
Sure,
driven.
yeah. This is called a convenience sample. It's driven by somebody who's trying to push a academic point, get something covered or published.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then if we actually turn around and use that to set public policy, that would be something that should be sent back and said, we need more research on this. So
as somebody that studies research, Patrick,
it's complete fucking garbage.
Is that an FC me after class?
It's not an FC me after class. It's a withdraw or an incomplete.
Okay.
See me after class because
It's
an interesting introductory study.
Absolutely.
There you go.
But
all right.
You
Let
cannot,
me be generous.
yes, but you absolutely cannot draw any serious conclusions.
You cannot
say,
set public policy off that.
And more to the point, you cannot turn around and basically say, as I saw with the hyperbole, that trans people are being hunted for sport and trophies off of this study.
That would definitely be hyperbolic.
You would think so, yes?
That's someone who wants to get published in the national news, not necessarily the academic.
That is where I was at the other day. You said your fucking methodology is dog shit.
It is dog shit.
Walk out of here. Stop. You don't know what you're talking about, right? And so, yeah, that's where I was with that.
Yeah, no, you're on good ground there.
I know I am.
Yeah, I know you are.
I know it. But yeah, that's where the suffering Olympics
you're
came
fine,
in.
man. Suffer Olympics are done for the day. Let's do our closing ceremonies. So you want to pet that dog? All right. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
Okay.